Ladies and gentlemen, do not let the numbers fool you. Alexandra Eala's 6-1, 6-2 win over Renata Zarazúa was not merely a first-round victory at Wimbledon. It was not just a clean scoreline. It was not just another seeded player handling business against a lower-ranked opponent. On June 30th, 2026, on the grass of the All England Club, this was a statement written in angles, pressure, restraint, and return games. This was a young player walking into the most tradition-heavy arena in tennis and refusing to look like a visitor. The scoreboard says 6-1. 6-2, but the story says something bigger. Alexandra Eala did not just win a match at Wimbledon. She announced that her game now belongs on this grass, in this draw, under this pressure, and in this conversation. This mattered because Wimbledon is never just a tournament. Wimbledon is a memory. Wimbledon is a hierarchy. Wimbledon is the place where players are not only judged by how well they strike the ball, but by how calmly they carry themselves through silence, expectation, and sudden danger. Eala entered as the number 29 seed, a symbol of how far her rise has already reached, and as a player ranked around the world's top 32, facing Renata Zarazúa, a seasoned Mexican competitor ranked number 75, who had already beaten her once before back in Cary in 2024. Zarazúa was not a blank page. She was a player with experience, variety, resistance, and history against Eala. She came in with a head-to-head edge. She came in with the ability to drag matches into uncomfortable places. She came in knowing that grass can punish hesitation, but from the opening movement of this contest, Eala turned the past into fuel and the court into territory. The stakes were deeper than a place in the second round. Eala was chasing her first Wimbledon main draw victory, and she was carrying the weight of a breakthrough season in which expectations had changed around her. Just days earlier, Philippine tennis had already been talking about her historic seeding, her rise into the top 30 conversation, and the fact that she had become the first Filipina to be seeded in a Grand Slam singles draw. That kind of milestone can be empowering, but it can also be heavy. A seed beside your name does not win points for you. It does not block returns. It does not calm your hand at break point. It does not make the grass less slippery or the first round less dangerous. If anything, it makes the first round more revealing, because now the question is no longer whether Eala can surprise the tour. The question is whether she can command it. And command it she did. The match began with the kind of early pressure that separates a confident player from a nervous one. Eala broke Zarazúa to move ahead 3-1 in the opening set, and that first break mattered because it changed the emotional temperature of the match. Zarazúa is at her best when she can extend rallies, change rhythm, ask repeated questions, and make opponents solve points 3 or 4 times. But Eala refused to let the match become a negotiation. She struck first, then struck again. She added another break late in the first set and closed it 6-1, turning what could have been a cautious opening into a ruthless opening chapter. In the second set, she broke early again, moved ahead 2-0, then delivered another break in the 5th game to stretch the lead to 4-1. By the time Zarazúa tried to breathe, the match had already been compressed into survival mode. Eala won 11 of the 14 games played, and she did it in 1 hour and 18 minutes. The first serve number tells the first layer of the story. Eala landed 60.4% of her first serves, essentially the 60% mark that defines a solid but not overwhelming serving day. That is important because this was not a match won by service bombs. There were no aces. There were no free-point explosions. There was no illusion that she simply served Zarazúa off the court. Instead, the real dominance came after the serve landed. Eala won 24 of 29 first serve points, an elite 82.8%. That is the stat that glows in this match, not the serve percentage alone, but what happened when the first delivery started the point. It means her serve was not just going in, it was setting up control. It means the first ball after the serve was biting. It means Zarazúa was not getting neutral rallies often enough. It means Eala turned ordinary service starts into offensive structures. The second serve was just as revealing. On grass, second serves are often hunted. A short second serve can be punished immediately. A passive second serve can turn the server into the defender before the rally even begins, but Eala won 12 of 19 second serve points, a strong 63.2%, and she did it without a double fault. That is not just execution, that is emotional discipline. It tells us she did not panic when the first serve missed. She did not donate points. She did not give Zarazúa the cheap openings that underdogs need to believe. Still, the weakness is hidden inside the strength. Against bigger second serve returners in later rounds, 60% first serves in play may not be enough, and the second serve will need more bite, more location, more disguise. Today, the second serve survived and even thrived. But against a heavier hitter, survival may require evolution. But the soul of this match was the return. Eala won 28 of 57 return points, almost half of all points played on Zarazúa's serve. That is a devastating return profile on grass. She won 20 of 45 first serve return points and an extraordinary 8 of 12 second serve return points. Think about what that does to an opponent. It removes safety. It tells Zarazúa that even making the first serve does not guarantee control, and missing it becomes almost fatal. Eala created 17 breakpoint chances. 17. That is not a statistic. That is siege warfare. Every Zarazúa service game seemed to contain danger. Every second serve seemed to arrive with a shadow. Even when Eala did not convert, she was forcing Zarazúa to play defense, not just with her racket, but with her nerves. Now, the breakpoint number deserves nuance. Eala converted 4 of 17 breakpoints, just 23.5%. On the surface, that looks inefficient. And it is the clearest area for improvement from this match. A player who creates 17 break chances and converts only 4 has left doors open. Against Zarazúa, Eala could afford it because she was so superior across the total pattern of play. Against an elite server or a top 10 player in full rhythm, those missed chances can become emotional traps. They can become the moment where dominance turns into doubt. But there is another way to read it. The fact that Eala kept generating chances after missed chances shows something important. She did not get discouraged by resistance. She did not let one missed breakpoint become 3 bad games. She kept returning, kept pressing, kept making Zarazúa feel the next point would be worse than the last. That is mental stamina disguised as statistical imperfection. The pressure points were where the match truly revealed her maturity. Zarazúa had only 2 breakpoints all match. Eala saved both, 100%. That is the cleanest pressure statistic on the board. It means that whenever the match threatened to shift, Eala closed the door immediately. No wobble, no extended invitation, no emotional leakage. This is the difference between a player playing well and a player controlling a match. Playing well gives you winners. Controlling a match gives you answers. Eala had answers. When she was ahead, she accelerated. When she was challenged, she simplified. When Zarazúa searched for a foothold, Eala took the next step forward. The result was not just a lopsided scoreline, it was a match in which the lower-ranked player rarely got to feel that the door was truly open. Tactically, this was a clinic in left-handed grass court problem solving. Eala did not need to overpower every point. She needed to take time away. She used the lefty patterns logically, serves sliding away, first balls redirected quickly, cross-court forehands stretching Zarazúa outside the doubles alley, then sudden changes back through the open space. On grass, movement is not only about speed, it is about balance before contact. Eala looked prepared to hit while moving forward, to stay low through the bounce and to prevent Zarazúa from turning rallies into clay court conversations. The ball stayed low. The exchanges stayed short enough. The first strike was not reckless, but purposeful. This was not wild aggression. This was controlled aggression. This was a player understanding that Wimbledon rewards the athlete who can attack without losing shape. Her shot selection told the same story. The 22 winners against Zarazúa's 11 were not empty fireworks. They were the result of court positioning. Eala was not simply swinging harder. She was arriving earlier. She was taking returns with intention. She was stepping inside the baseline when the ball allowed it, refusing to let Zarazúa's defensive skills reset the rally. The winner count doubled Zarazúa's total, while the error count between the players stayed essentially level in the available match reports, which means Eala's aggression did not come at the normal cost. That is the equation every elite player chases. More damage, not more chaos. More initiative, not more recklessness. More pressure, not more leakage. And then there is the total points number, the stat that often tells the truth more clearly than the score. Eala won 64 of 105 points, 61% of the match. Zarazúa 141. In tennis, 61% is domination. It means the match was not decided by a few lucky swings. It means Eala was winning the ordinary points, the neutral points, the pressure points, and the momentum points. It means the scoreboard was not exaggerating. The scoreboard was catching up. She won 75% of her total service points and 49.1% of her total return points. That combination is suffocating. If a player holds that profile across 2 sets, the opponent does not just lose games, games. The opponent loses options. The most dramatic sequence came in the way Eala handled the long games. Break point conversion may have been imperfect, but the repeated break chances created a psychological accumulation. Zarazúa saved break points. She resisted. She forced extra balls. She tried to make Eala prove it again. But Eala kept coming back to the same central truth. On this day, she was the player dictating where the match lived. The early break to 3-1 in the first set gave her authority. The second break to finish the first set gave her separation. The immediate break in the second set gave her continuity. The break for 4-1 gave her final control. This was not one hot streak. This was a sequence of confirmations. This was not a moment. This was a pattern. What makes this performance feel historic is not that it guarantees anything beyond today. Tennis does not work that way. Wimbledon does not hand out futures because of first-round score lines. What makes it historic is that Eala looked less like a breakthrough story and more like a seeded player accepting her role. That is a massive transition. The first stage of a career is proving you can belong. The next stage is proving you can impose. Against Zarazúa, Eala imposed. She did not ask the match what it wanted to become. She told it. She took a player who had beaten her before and reduced the rematch to 14 games. She took a Grand Slam first round, historically one of the most dangerous rounds in tennis, and made it feel like a controlled unveiling. The bigger picture now becomes impossible to ignore. This win gives Eala her first Wimbledon main draw victory and only her second career appearance in the second round of a Grand Slam. Her next opponent is set to come from Serena Williams or Maya Joint, a storyline that could tilt either toward tennis mythology or unfinished business. If it is Serena, then the symbolism is enormous. A young Filipina seed across the net from one of the sport's most powerful icons on the lawns where legacy is amplified. If it is Joint, then it becomes a younger generation battle with its own edge, especially given their prior meeting in the Eastbourne final. Either way, the message has already been sent. Eala is not entering round 2 as a grateful participant. She is entering it as a threat. For the rankings. This result matters not simply because of points, but because of permanence. Eala's season has been moving from promise into proof. Birmingham grass court title, Berlin momentum, a historic Grand Slam seeding, and now a clean Wimbledon win. Every round she adds at a major strengthens the argument that she is not just visiting the seeded class, she is building residence there. The ranking system rewards consistency, and this was the kind of result seeded players are supposed to collect. Efficient, professional, ruthless, low drama. But for Eala and Philippine tennis, low drama can still be high impact. Sometimes history does not arrive in a 5-set epic or a final set tiebreak. Sometimes history arrives in 78 minutes, with a left-handed returner taking almost half the points on her opponent's serve. The warning to the rest of the draw is not that Eala is flawless. She is not. The breakpoint conversion must sharpen. The first serve percentage can rise. The second serve, though effective today, will be tested harder by more explosive returners. But the warning is that her floor is rising. The warning is that she can win without aces. She can dominate without serving at 70%. She can miss chances and still keep creating more. She can face a player with a previous win over her and make that history irrelevant. That is the mark of development. That is the mark of a player becoming more complete. That is the mark of someone learning that power is not always noise. Sometimes power is repetition. Sometimes power is patience. Sometimes power is forcing an opponent to solve the same problem until the opponent breaks. So remember this match correctly. Do not reduce it to 6-1, 6-2. Do not call it routine. Do not treat it as a simple first-round clearance. This was the first Wimbledon main draw win of Alexandra Eala's career. This was a seeded player stepping onto court 12 and giving the match a shape that never truly belonged to anyone else. This was a return performance disguised as a rout. This was a serve performance without aces but full of control. This was a pressure performance where 2 break points against became 0 breaks conceded. This was not a player surviving Wimbledon. This was a player beginning to understand how to command it. And when the camera pulls back from the grass, when the last ball fades into the afternoon, when the scoreboard goes dark and only the meaning remains, the conclusion is clear. Alexandra Eala has not reached the summit. She has not finished the story. She has not answered every question. But on June 30th, 2026 at Wimbledon, she gave the tennis world a new question to consider. If this is what she looks like at the beginning of the tournament, what happens when belief starts to gather momentum? This was not the end. This is the beginning.